It is currently, as of recording this, the second full week of January, which means, of course, I'm going to make way too early predictions on NASCAR's playoff field this year. So, there's a few things I want to say with this. Number one, I'm not saying I'm picking who's going to win, and this will change as the season goes on, as we get more different winners and different drivers perform in different ways than we're expecting. But going into this, I'm going to tell you two types of playoff drivers. One I'm going to get through really quick, which are the locked-in drivers, the one I feel like will be really good, and that you really don't have to worry about missing the playoffs at all. And then on the other, there is the ones on the edge, the ones who more than likely can make it or are on that bubble line of making it, but you don't know for sure, and don't be surprised if they miss. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, the locked-in guys. I have 9 drivers that I think are more than likely going to make the playoffs next year, and I'll go in order of their number. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, and William Byron. All 9 of these drivers either will win or are usually going to be consistent enough not to worry about it. I think that Byron has been the one that most people would probably question to be in this group, but I'm going to say that last year he proved enough that he will be just fine in making the playoffs in 2022. These guys are the guys who are going to have the most involvement in the championship discussion throughout the season, and these are the guys who are for the most part probably going to lock in some wins really early in the year. So don't be surprised maybe if one of them here or there might struggle. There's always one a year who does when it comes to making the playoffs, but I still think that these guys will all make it this year. Starting off with the guys who are more on the bubble and the cut line, I have Alex Bowman. You see, I think many people would ask, why would you put a guy who won 4 races last year on the bubble for making the playoffs? And the reason is because while Alex Bowman did have his breakout season last year, he is way too inconsistent to trust completely, though he's right on the cusp of being. I think he's just a peg below where William Byron is, where you can probably expect Byron to run top 5 and top 10 almost every week. Alex Bowman is a little different. He'll be in the top 10 a lot, but at the same time, he'll also be a bit lower. So if something were to happen, Alex Bowman could miss the playoffs, but I don't think he's gonna. Next up is Tyler Reddick. Reddick seems to be a driver that everyone is just waiting to have his explosion onto the scene, the same way that people were waiting for Bowman before 2021. Well, I think that this year is Reddick's year to do it. You see, Tyler Reddick excels at more of the high horsepower tracks and the ones that really take manhandling a car to get around. And with NASCAR announcing that they're going to ditch the 550 package for a 670 package, I think this is going to help Reddick more than any other driver in the field. Next up is Christopher Bell. I think that Christopher Bell is somebody who also is kind of in the same boat as Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick. Pretty solid, but we're not completely sold on. But I think that Bell is going to improve coming into this season. He got a little bit better as the year went on after having a very big slump after his good start, and I think that he's going to have less of a slump if he even has one at all. The thing with me for Bell is he is so good at New Hampshire Motor Speedway that I think that there's a very good chance he might just get in off a win like that. Next up is my first wild card sort of pick for the playoffs, and it is Austin Cindric, the rookie this year, who I think is not only going to be a pretty easy lock for the playoffs, but might be someone who can make it past the first round just off of the bonus points and playoff points he gets during the regular season. Listen, we all know, and everyone has said it nauseum, that Austin Cindric is a great road course racer. We've seen it in the Xfinity Series, we've seen brief flashes of it when he's in Cup, and I think that this year he's going to capitalize on it. There's so many more road courses in Cup this year than there have been in most years past that he's bound to get at least one of the wins. And the new car is meant to drive better at road courses, which is only going to play right into Cindric's hands. Now, as much as so many people are saying this guy won't run well, I could not leave him out, especially after adding Austin Cindric, and that is Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski is going over to co-own Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, as it's known now, or RFK. And while I don't think that Keselowski is going to go and set the world on fire, he's not going to bring it back to the days where Roush was making up half of the chase field. I do think he is going to outperform his equipment, similar to how guys like Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards did when Roush was faltering. I mean, Roush didn't just all of a sudden take a nosedive off a cliff when Carl Edwards left. The equipment was probably relatively the same compared to everybody else. It's just the caliber of driver left. Now, I think Brad Keselowski personally is around a Kurt Busch to maybe Carl Edwards level driver, a very good above average one. So I think he's somebody who could maybe run top 10 in points with this equipment. And if he does, well, he's probably going to compete for a win or two at that point too. As for probably my most divisive pick to put in the playoffs this year, and I've mentioned him in previous videos last week, Bubba Wallace. Now, a lot of people, after seeing how he underperformed, and let's be completely real here, he underperformed his expectations last year. Many people are probably going to think that I'm crazy, or they're going to think that I'm just judging off of a Talladega rain win. Well, I'm not. Bubba Wallace sucked at the start of last year. There's no denying it, but he got better as the year went on, slowly but surely, and in the last 9 to 10 races, his average running position was immensely higher than it was the previous 27 or 26 races. Now, we do have a new car, but 23XI has an entire off-season now to get ready for that, compared to last year, where they basically had half an off-season and were scrambling just to get to Daytona. I think that Bubba Wallace is going to consistently be someone in the top 10, and while he might not get a win before the playoffs, I do think he's going to be consistent enough to be right on that bubble line come Daytona. Now, as for my last pick, and I think this is going to be more or less my underdog pick, a guy who really performed horribly last year, way worse than anybody else on this list, and that is Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe came into the Cup Series with some pretty big expectations. He ran amazing in the Xfinity Series in 2020, and we thought, well, he's not going to do the same thing in Cup, but he should at least be up front. And he was not very much. I think he's going to improve this year, as is the rest of SHR, and he's going to be one that capitalizes on it more than any other driver there. Plus, you gotta see how good he is at some of these different tracks like road courses, for instance, especially the Indianapolis road course, and you gotta think that he's gonna compete for some of the wins there. So if he's competitive enough to win there, well, he'll get enough a win. Or if he's competitive enough to race up at the front, well, he'll probably be right around that cut line for the playoffs, the same way guys like Bubba Wallace will be. So I think that he is gonna probably be right around there, and those extra points at road courses, especially Indianapolis, will really help him. So those are my 16 drivers right there, but I want to do a little bit of a breakdown here, and it won't be too long though. There in my predictions will be 6 Chevrolets making the playoffs, 5 Toyotas, and 5 Fords, which kind of keeps up with the parity that NASCAR has been showing in recent years. I think 3 Penske cars will make it, 2 Stewart-Haas Racing cars will make it, all 4 Hendrick cars will make it, 1 RFK Ford will make it, there's going to be the 1 RCR car, the 1 23XI car, and of course the JGR cars. All 4 of them are going to make it. I think that this is going to be a relatively competitive playoff field, though I do think whether it be Hendrick or Gibbs or Penske or maybe somebody from the pack, one team is going to come out late in the year absolutely dominant, similar to like in 2008 when it came to Hendrick and Roush, or in 2013 when it came to Gibbs and Hendrick. One way or another, there's going to be a dominant team or two come the season's end, and it's going to probably come down to those 2 teams and drivers from them competing for the championship. But now, with me saying all that, I want to pass it on to you. Who do you think is going to make the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs this year? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. To all of my channel members, thank you so much for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.